to What's Next. I appreciate each and every one of you joining in today throughout this very, very special discussion that I'm about to have with three amazing women today. My show is going to invite your voice, my friends' voices, my colleagues' voices, experts' voices to help shape the future of women's soccer industry. So first and foremost, I want to discuss, that everybody basically belongs in soccer. And so we will start every episode with, a little brief message from me. And so what's going to be next for this next generation and what resources can we give to those who should not be going through what we have gone through to help pave the way for them. And so I just want to welcome you guys all once again to What's Next. And I am super duper excited to introduce you to Susie Cirilli. She is a dynamic lawyer practicing with Flaster Greenberg who focuses specifically on labor and employment. Susie was recognized as a Metro Philadelphia LGBTQ plus power player in 2022. With my recent pregnancy announcement and the NWSL in its first full season with an active CBA with players, Susie is going to be joining us today to talk about all things parental leave. So Susie, welcome. Give us a little background on you, your connection to soccer. This is like one of the most fascinating topics, obviously for me as a mom, and the importance of parental leave. So give us a little rundown on your background and we'll go from there.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Congrats on your first show. I am based out of Philadelphia and a little bit of New York, and I counsel companies on all things employment law, policies, how to handle terminations, hiring practices, parental leave, discrimination based on race, sex, gender, sexual orientation, everything. I'm happy to be here and to chat with you. Yeah, so I was thinking about it on the train ride up here, that you have seen both sides of things now. You had your son 10 or 11 years ago, one or the other. Mm-hmm. and that was before in a professional league with a CBA. So and now here you are in a league with a CBA. Can you that's a little crazy.
Yeah, it's been a very wild ride. And this is a huge part of my journey and story as a professional athlete, because I've been a pro athlete for 13 years, and 11 of them I've been a mom, which is like absolutely insane to say. And so I've been a mom every single minute that the NWSL has been a league. And so me being one of two moms from the very beginning of this league, I think Christy Rampone was the other one, really. I went through a different kind of struggle than what, a lot of these moms, especially on the national team, are going through. And the reason why I say that is because the support for moms at the beginning of, this league for the first 10 years now, it was pretty much non-existent. Like for me, I didn't have, the support system that I felt like I should have had as a mom. And this will be, a later discussion, because this was brought up in my meeting the other day with Shannon Boxx. We were teammates my first year in the NWSL, and we were playing together with Chicago Red Stars, and my son at times, a lot of days, he was sitting in his stroller by himself on the sideline during training just because, I had no help, trying to look for a nanny, look for a babysitter. And to top it off, I really couldn't even afford childcare. This was a time where I was making the minimum in the league, which was $15,000. And that's absolutely, and the season was only 6 months long to top it off. So it was just, I was being handed nothing. And really one of the only times in my career where I felt, fully supported in this league specifically was when I played for Seattle Reign back in 2013. I got traded in the middle of that season, and they had an intern come and watch my kid every day who worked in the front office. So that was very helpful, but then still had to find a nanny on the road. And so I can officially say now I have a nanny in every market in the NWSL. So anytime a mom now reaches out to me, because I've had a lot of moms who I don't even know in this league have reached out to me and asked me like, hey, what do you do with your son when, you're here in Orlando, for example? And I'm like, oh, this is what I do. This is my contact, go here, drop them off here, or you can have them pick you up, blah, blah, blah. So I have really had to develop the hard way a really good support system in this league without any help.
Yeah, like was that just grassroots, like you doing the work to find care in each city?
Absolutely. And the only way I've done it is through teammates or friends that I've had in each market.
Yeah.
Like, okay, do you know someone? Because, I trust this person. It'll be someone that they trust. And so that's just kind of how I've built these relationships in each market. And now with the CBA, it's a little bit of a cushion for moms because now we have parental leave, which we never had. So maternity leave is a big deal for us because we continue to get paid our salary while we're not playing. And so that's a little bit of relief, but the bare minimum of a paycheck every month for childcare, but still have to search for a nanny in each market. And I still have a lot of women in this league, from coaches to players, who still reach out to me and like, how have you been doing this? What do you do? And so I think that's sort of the lack of support that we still continue to have in this league that I think we could do a lot better at.
And we were talking early, just before we started, about benefits that teams can provide. Do you think that's something that that the league or because each team is their own organization, so to speak. So we do have the CBA, right? Or I'm not part of the league. You have the CBA that provides for pregnancy leave, parental leave. And just for the people listening, not to bore you with legal stuff, but like parental leave is leave to take to raise a child and for childbirth, and pregnancy related leave under the CBA is time away for medical situations as they relate to the pregnancy itself. So people that are carrying a child. But now, so when the child arrives, what I'm hearing from you is that now it seems that there's room for improvement to explore how we can help maintain moms in soccer. And to be candid, I'm in the law firm, right? So law firm life, the attrition rate is pretty high for people with children as well. So I think all organizations, not just in sport, can benefit from, okay, we're focusing on the leave, but then what? And God bless you. You figured it out, but that's a lot of work.
Absolutely. And just being a pro athlete and being a mom at the same time, it's two major jobs that, can be physically and mentally draining a lot of days. And so I've been trying to help pave the way for other moms because I've had so many friends and old teammates who have retired at such a young age because they wanted to be parents. And with the lack of support and the lack of pay that we have had throughout the years in this league, we've lost a lot of talent because of that.
Yeah.
And so this is the part where, okay, now we have a CBA. Okay, we're starting somewhere. I'm excited about that. I really am. But so, okay, you got to start somewhere. But now what's our next step? This is sort of the difference that I want to continue to make in this league and still continue to use my voice. And I would love to get my foot in the door of working in WSL at some point, just to be able to make sure that all players are well taken care of. And one way to do that is obviously taking care of the moms. And one of the things that I have recently mentioned with some of my friends, I would love to have childcare in each market at each stadium or, wherever a player is training at, because we have at Racing Louisville, we have a very good facility. We have a great facility. But I'm I know one of these rooms can turn into a daycare somehow because our men's team has children. Right now I am the only mom on the team, but there's going to be more moms that are going to be coming along. And so how can we do more for all the moms in this league to make sure they are first and foremost well taken care of? Because a lot of stress comes with this job and a lot of stress comes with being a parent. And the less you have to worry about your child, the better you can perform. That's my purpose, really, is playing for my son at the end of the day. I want to make him proud. That's what's most important to me. But I don't want to stress that something is a little off with my situation with him. That's nerve-wracking. And then I went through too much of that. And that's something I don't want the moms in this league to go through.
Well, and I think we're on borrowed time because there's way more interesting guests than me. But I will say, I so appreciate what you said. And just to round out, as an attorney practicing employment law and talking with you and hearing you say what you've said, I think the next step about how players can advocate for themselves and organizations can provide for their players. And by the way, it's employees on the field and off the field. There's a whole organization behind that team that also needs benefits and leave. And so there are laws that apply to everybody. So I would just I would implore the entities in the league to brush up on the laws and to seek counsel, not from me, from an attorney in your home state, from an HR person, and then educate the players. And the players need to know, and all employees, whether you're a ticket, scanning the tickets or on the field, that there's something called retaliation. You can ask a question and you cannot be retaliated against. That's easier said than done, though. And I've represented plenty of executives that have been super brave in making a request, and it's not always met. So I appreciate you being in the league and doing what you're doing, and don't stop ever. And I think I have to sign off. I think our 10 minutes is up.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But I did want to mention one last thing. I do want to get it out there. I do want to point out your blog. We heard that you're going to be collaborating with Women in Soccer. Okay. Tell us just a little bit about your blog series and what to expect and where we can find it. And then, we'll go on to. Yeah,
I wasn't signing up. There are way more interesting people that you're going to talk to.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. So I think my big thing is that I know the more information is out there, the better. For players and admin and owners, they should know the laws of the land. And there's always federal law, the state law, and then there's the local law. Like I'm in Philly. Philadelphia has its own laws. So I think information is great. Women in Soccer, I'll be writing a monthly blog, and I think there hopefully will accumulate a nice little library that can be a reference. It's not legal advice. I don't represent anybody, so don't rely on it and seek your own counsel. I have to say that. But it's a starting point for conversations and questions. So I think we should have 3 by the end of this week on parental leave. And yesterday, Pregnancy Fair Workers Act came into effect. So that was a big day. Actually, not June 27th it did, not yesterday. These days are blurring together. I'll keep everybody updated. That's what I'm going to do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Susie. As the NWSL grows, the USL Super League comes into the market, we will continue to strive to create a soccer industry that is equitable and inclusive. Susie is going to be an excellent and valuable resource for all of us. So I hope you guys follow her journey in women in soccer through her blog. So thank you so much, Susie. And what's next for Resources, Players, Careers, Transitions, and Soccer for Good with 2 special guests, Amy Rodriguez and Shannon Boxx. Shannon Boxx is a 3-time Olympic gold medalist, 4-time World Cup medalist with the U.S. Women's National Soccer Team, National Soccer Hall of Famer, newer, and also happy birthday, Shannon Boxx. She's 25 today, folks, so go ahead and give her a happy birthday shout out.
Feels great.
Shannon, happy birthday.
And now we have Amy Rodriguez, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, World Cup champion with the U.S. Women's National Team in 2015, and now head coach of NWSL's Utah Royals. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to talk about that. So thank you so much, ladies, for coming on my show today. I am super stoked to discuss literally everything with you in such a short period of time. I feel like I can go all day with the 2 of you because we've all been teammates, which is such a beautiful journey. So crazy. All 3 of us have never actually played together. I played with Boxy at one point. I played with A-Rod at one point. The 2 of them have played together at one point. So we all just kind of missed each other somewhere in that triangle. But
soccer's a small world. So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So I do want to point out that a few things that the 3 of us do have in common. We are World Cup champions.
Woo.
We all played together at some point in our careers, as I had just mentioned, and we're all parents. So I am super stoked to have the 2 of you on my show once again. So as both of you know, we are hosting the show to have your voices help shape the future of the soccer industry. First topic I want to talk about here with you guys are the resources for players and leaders working in the game. And so I'll go with you first, Boxy. You've launched a program, Ethos Mentality, that centers on helping elite professional female athletes to be able to access tools and to understand their skills and personal identity so they can thrive beyond the field and know they're more than just their sport. So tell us more about this and why you wanted to start this, because I think this is huge, and I can't wait for everybody to hear about this.
No, I'm so excited about it. It's definitely become my passion. I retired when I was 38 years old, and my sole focus for most of my life was playing the game of soccer and being the best athlete that I could be. Through my own process of transitioning out, I struggled. I took 3-4 years to really figure out this is what I want to do next. And in the process, I also was a mom and, wanting to raise and expand my family. So I had my son after I finished as well, which just led to a whole nother thing of 2 kids under, the age of 3 and still trying to figure out everything. And so what I learned through that process was there isn't enough being done to support athletes during their career to prepare them for this transition from their sport and into what's next. We all know that our timetable is a finite thing to play sports. You can't be playing forever. And eventually when you retire, whether it's on your own terms or from an injury or getting cut or whatever, you go from knowing exactly who you are and what you want to asking yourself what's next. And for me, and I know for a lot of athletes that I've researched, it's an emotional process that's very individual, and it can take a long time. And so I just want, it's like, this is a problem. I want to fix it and created Ethos Mentality, which the actual program is called Athletes Redefined.
I absolutely love that. And I wish, there are a lot of resources nowadays that, a lot of these kids have that I'm like, I wish I had that, So everything that you just completely just explained, it's so important, especially for young female athletes out there who lack the confidence, who go through traumas, who, feel quiet when they can't speak up about something, just being able to be open, be free, being themselves, and also enjoying the game. And that's something not a lot of kids get. And I just learned this statistic that 1 in 3 female athletes, like around puberty age, they quit sports completely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of all these little topics that we're talking about. And so that's definitely going to be a game changer. And I can't wait to see your program just completely sprout, because it is probably one of the most important things that young females are going to need. And just being able to have people to look up to, speak to, and then have fun with their friends playing soccer at the same time. So, absolutely incredible.
And I think it's so important because it's for current and retired athletes, right? Mm-hmm. It's for all sports as well. It's not just for soccer, but obviously with my network, soccer is my first initial piece that I really want to focus on. And it's for elite female athletes. And I think that's the big thing too, is we've talked about this. We retire and we haven't made the money that other male athletes have maybe made. And they go through the same process. They go through that same transition where it's difficult. But as for a female, we're starting our families late. We're making less money. It's all of these things. And it's just so important for us to really figure out, what do we want to do next? Who are we? We're more than our sport, but sometimes we get so bogged down that that's our only identity. And then when it leaves, we find that we have nothing to give. And I think that's not the way that we should be looking at it. And I think that we should be honestly looking at it that this is a player career development. You should be doing it while you're playing. You have time to go through that process so that when you are ready to end, because I know for me, I'm not going to lie, I had anxiety finishing and retiring. So did I maybe stay a couple more years later? Because I was like, well, one, I want to win a World Cup, but also I don't know what I want to do next. I really don't. And so if I actually know what I want to do when I am about to finish, or even through my mid years, like, I'm not going to have that anxiety, and I'm going to be more free to play and to play better. We all know that
for my job. Yes, I would love to be a coach there for 5, 10, 20 years. Is that realistic in sports? No. But do I feel the sense of wanting to bring a championship, to wanting to bring pride to the community of Salt Lake City? 100%. So my investment in the club goes beyond just my contract. It's deep in my blood, in my heart, I guess.
I absolutely love that. Oh, head coach for the Utah Royals, A-Rod. You are just absolutely amazing. Like, straight up trailblazing woman. So
love it.
Right. I'm obsessed.
I know, me too.
I had to text you right away.
You got some more fans already.
Yes, absolutely. So with the first ever CBA is in place for our league, A-Rod, this is going to be for you once again. And, we already spoke about your new role in the NWSL, but the women in soccer community is very curious to know how many of us were coached by a woman in our youth and college career. So we'll start with A-Rod, and then Boxy, we'll go with you after, and then I'll go after you too.
That number is a big fat 0 for me.
Oh my goodness.
In college, nor in my youth development, was I ever head coached by a female until I was on the national team with Boxy, actually. where we were coached by Pia Sundhage. She's my very first female coach that I ever had.
Wow.
Yeah. Mind blowing.
Let's see. I had men, but I did have Leslie Gallimore for Region 4. So
Oh, sweet.
coached by a female, which was great. Just to be able to have both. And then obviously the national team we did too. So.
Wow. Well, I have been, I guess, a little more fortunate than the two of you. I had Jill Ellis at one point with youth national teams. I think she was like my U20 coach after Tony, rest his soul. And then when I turned pro, because I didn't have a female college coach, when I turned pro, I had Laura Harvey for a very short period of time with Seattle Reign. I was only there for like half a season in 2013. And then had Jill Ellis once again as my coach with the full team. So yeah, I've only had really two female coaches, but I
You had them at different stages, which is
great. Different stages for sure.
Yeah. I think it just feels it's so important for us. I mean, I think it's great to have male coaches as well, but just that's just feels safe sometimes, and you just have a different perspective. And it's become really important. I know for us, I know you'll probably talk about it later, but Bridge City Soccer Academy that I helped start here is an all girls, all female based academy here and youth academy. And so it's all girls, it's all women coaches. So there's a place that they feel like they belong, and it's really nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll say too, because we didn't grow up with female coaches, I never sat in the position where I was like, oh, I want to be a coach someday. I never thought that could be my role. And so I think, I've only recently decided that like coaching was going to be my career path, because it really wasn't presented to me as I was, growing up.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's very, very true for a lot of us. So we'll continue to touch base about, career transitions here. So A-Rod, I'll go with you first. Can you tell us like what your transition has been like what you've been learning since you retired from being, a pro soccer player, and what your top priorities are to gear up for year one for your club?
Yeah, I think I wasn't expecting to retire when I did. I had, I think, one season left on my playing contract. And I got a random phone call and request to come be an assistant coach at my alma mater university, USC. And I got the phone call, and being a mom of two little kids, my home base and my husband are back in California.
Yeah.
But my pro team I was playing with you at the time, Jess. I was playing in North Carolina, which couldn't be any further. So when I got the phone call for the job offer or job opportunity, I really mulled over the decision because one, I didn't want to give up playing. But two, I really wanted to be back with family, and I wanted to be able to kiss my kids goodnight every night, and I wanted to tuck them in bed every day, and I wanted to enjoy like their sports activities and all the things that normal parents get to do.
Yeah.
But as a pro soccer player where you have to play across the country, I didn't have that luxury. So like I said, I really mulled over the decision of whether to keep playing or to go into coaching. Ultimately, family was the more important decision for me at the time. And I said, I'm gonna give up my playing career. Now, that was super difficult. I jumped right into coaching. In my last 2 seasons of playing, I had taken on some coaching licensing work where I was studying to be a coach, but I certainly wasn't ready. So as I fell into this coaching role, I kind of had to learn quickly. I jumped into a Power 5 school, a lot of national team players, intense Division 1 soccer competition. So I loved it, but there was a sense of me that obviously missed playing. So I would jump in with the girls every day.
As you should. Yes.
I couldn't help myself. But I've slowly progressed now into like full-time coaching role, where I absolutely love it. And I didn't know that I would. I didn't know if coaching would tick the same boxes as playing would. So I will say, like, I'm super happy in now taking on the coaching role. But there's so much for me to learn. I do feel humbled by the experience of having to start kind of my career path as a coach, where I've played so many years in the game, but now I have to see it so differently.
Mm-hmm. I love that you mentioned getting back home to your boys, because not a lot of people see the actual sacrifices that we make as professional athletes, especially if we have kids. World Cup year in 2019, we were training from like November 2018 all the way through the World Cup, and the final was July 7th, 2019. So I was gone between 2 and 4 weeks every month leading into the World Cup. And I had to leave my kid because he was in middle school. He was in second grade at the time. And so like people don't like see the sacrifices that we make as moms or as pro athletes, really throughout our careers, because that's like the most important piece, I believe, because like if you think about even the way that we grew up, I mean, we've missed, proms, weddings, funerals. I mean, like you name it, we miss so much because of our careers. And so, but that's like what makes us so successful. It's going to take sacrifice in order to be successful. So I'm just happy that your overall pro playing career has gone the way that it has. You're Olympic gold medalist, you're World Cup gold medalist, like you've done it. You've won some NWSL championships. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 with Kansas City. Like you've done it, sister. And I know that your retirement didn't go the way you wanted it to, but life has been just so precious for you that the sacrifice doesn't have to be as deep anymore, because you did it already. And so just know that a lot of us are very proud of you for that. And that took a lot of bravery too, to hang up the boots, because sis, I'm not too far behind you. Now it's lingering in my mind. I'm like, okay, when, and it's like, okay, so I'm almost there. So we'll talk about your career transition now, Boxy. You went from playing to broadcasting to entrepreneurship. So what's your favorite part about this journey that you're on right now? I'm very fascinated about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just that I really wanted to find something that I was going to be as passionate about. I have a great husband who was not pushing me to be like, you need to go get a job. Like it was, I want you to go get a job that you're going to love to do. And he has been by my side this whole time, just like, you're doing great. You're meeting new people. You're putting yourself out there. And I think that's the part that I've been enjoying the most through this whole transition is I didn't network when I was a player. I was very quiet in that way. I didn't really put myself out there. There were so many of my teammates who were a lot more extroverted and meeting people and introducing themselves. And I just wasn't that person. And now in this realm, I'm so much more open to putting myself in difficult situations and uncomfortable situations. So like Amy, like you said, you just jumped right into coaching and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, and it's taking those risks. And we did it so much as players. Mm-hmm. It felt really natural to do it because we knew we were really good at it. We have no idea if we're going to be good at this next thing. And that's a scary thought. And so I think what I've been so happy with myself is that I've been willing to jump in and take these risks. Being on TV, doing all of that commentating and stuff, that's being an analyst. That is something I never would have done. I mean, I think, Amy, you know me better than Jess does, but I never wanted to be in front of a camera. I was always like, nah, like I'll just come over here. And here I am smack dab in the middle of TV. And I'm enjoying it. Like it took a lot of like, getting me to do it. Like people were like, you can do this. And I was like, I don't know, but I just jumped in and I found out that I really, truly love it and that I'm getting better and better at it every day. So for me, I think this transition, the best part of transition is, like I said, just taking these risks and being willing to be vulnerable and put myself in uncomfortable situations and see what happens. And good things have been happening, especially with my new company and now with broadcasting.
That's absolutely amazing. And one key point that the both of you actually mentioned were your husbands and how supportive they have been throughout your career. Yeah. And so the importance of just having a simple support system is so relieving for us as athletes. That's so important. And if you don't have that, type of support and encouragement that makes it a little more difficult. So, bravo to your husbands as well, because I know they've both been on this crazy journey with the two of you for a while, and kudos to them for their patience and their support, because I know it's not easy, simply because they both have different careers than the two of you, and I know how crazy our schedules are as professional athletes. We're all over the place. Sometimes schedules change, like whatever, or we're in two different states from them, you know what I mean, and it makes it so difficult. But just having that simple support from them just makes it so much better, and like, good for you guys with your transition too, just having that support, them being patient and obviously still continuing to be your support system, because that's huge. That is so big. So, bravo to the fellas. Sometimes we don't give them enough credit, but that's absolutely huge. So, God bless them at the end of the day. So, Boxy, I did want to ask you though, I know you want to take risks, kind of come into this next transition for yourself with your chest out a little bit, coming out of your comfort zone, but like, what skill set or mantra have you like relied on throughout your career, and has that helped you, with the transition as well?
Yeah, I think just resilience. I would say when everybody always asks me, what's a trait, what's a skill, and it's resilience, and it's working hard and not giving up. And we have this athletic mindset, of like, we are going to push through things and we're going to battle through things. And when things are tough, we don't give up. And I think that's just something that's, especially being an entrepreneur, things are not always going great. And I'm like, there's been times where I'm like, is this going to work? And then it's like the next day I start talking about it again and I get all excited again. And I'm like, yep, it's going to work. And it's just, you're constantly going back and forth. So to have resilience and that mentality that I just don't give up, I think is a great skill. And one thing, as I've been kind of going through this process, there's actually a quote that I found reading this book, and it says, every time you take a giant leap forward, you will land at the bottom of your next learning curve.
Oof.
If you take that in, right? Like, it's like, we did that through our whole career. We went from high school to college. It got faster. We were at the bottom of our learning curve, and then we got really good. And then we went professional, and we were at the bottom of our learning curve, and then we got really good. And it happened then. And it's like, I almost forgot that, because I always was like, oh, I was always good at soccer. No, I wasn't. Like,
done it, sister. And I know that your retirement didn't go the way you wanted it to, but life has been just so precious for you that the sacrifice doesn't have to be as deep anymore, because you did it. You did it already. And so just know that a lot of us are very proud of you for that. And that took a lot of bravery too, to hang up the boots, because sis, I'm not too far behind you, now it's lingering in my mind. I'm like, okay, when, and it's like, okay, so I'm almost there. So we'll talk about your career transition now, Boxy. You went from playing to broadcasting to entrepreneurship. So what's your favorite part about this journey that you're on right now? I'm very fascinated about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just that I really wanted to find something that I was going to be as passionate about. I have a great husband who was not pushing me to be like, you need to go get a job. Like, it was, I want you to go get a job that you're going to love to do. And he has been by my side this whole time, just like, you're doing great. You're meeting new people. You're putting yourself out there. And I think that's the part that I've been enjoying the most through this whole transition is I didn't network when I was a player. I was very quiet in that way. I didn't really put myself out there. There were so many of my teammates who were a lot more extroverted and meeting people and introducing themselves. And I just wasn't that person. And now in this realm, I'm so much more open to putting myself in difficult situations and uncomfortable situations. So like Amy, like you said, you just jumped right into coaching and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, and it's taking those risks. And we did it so much as players. Mm-hmm. It felt really natural to do it because we knew we were really good at it. We have no idea if we're going to be good at this next thing. And I failed a lot in soccer, but you don't remember that. And so it's just kind of like constantly I'm telling myself that same thing, like you got to start somewhere. And every time I've always gotten better, it just took time. And I tell my kids that you're not perfect when you start and you can never get perfect, but it's just that growing pain. So I don't know. I love that quote. And I feel like that sticks with me all the time.
Yeah, that hit my soul a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I love that. So we'll move on to our next topic. This will be one of our last topics. I do want to discuss the Soccer for Good portion. I have a foundation back at home in Phoenix, Arizona called the Jessica McDonald Foundation, and it's to help provide kids with gear and equipment and access to the game so they can have a little more leverage to be able to play, because we all know how expensive club soccer is. And so this completely resonates with me simply because my brother and I, we couldn't afford club soccer growing up. It was too expensive for us. So one amazing thing that our club did for us was that they had us on a scholarship. They paid for us to play. And not a lot of kids get that opportunity. And me being able to pay it forward, basically, because I wouldn't be here today without that support from my club, and same with my brother, because he moved on to the MLS and he played for Guam national team for a little while and kind of played all over the world professionally. And so I think that was just a beautiful thing for our club to look out for us and know that they saw something in us. And I didn't know at the time. I actually didn't even know my club was paying for me to play. I found out in my adult life. Wow. I had no idea. And so, yeah, I found out pretty late, and I'm like, oh, geez, well, I'm very grateful. So I guess this is my way of paying it forward and wanting to give kids, especially in the lower income families who can't afford it, and just being able to give them that opportunity, because I think everybody deserves that. Moving on to you, Boxy, you've done a lot for this game. You were outspoken about lupus while you played to help everyone feel that they belong in sport, and you started Bridge City Soccer Academy that you mentioned earlier, an all-girls academy in Portland, Oregon, welcoming players into a safe space and prioritizing not only learning soccer, but the needs of the person as a whole, which I think is just absolutely huge. So tell us more about what it means to you to create a culture of safety in the game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with everything going on in the last couple of years, we're recognizing that we need to create a better culture for our young players, especially our girls. And so that's kind of where this started out, and it became important for us to create an environment that had the right culture. I mean, the game of soccer is amazing, and I feel like over time it has become more important to make money and to really like push these kids to be great so early. And so Bridge City was, the idea behind it was we wanted to have an environment and a space that girls could enjoy playing the game and learn the values and the skills that you can get from playing sports. And that became the most important piece of it. So we focus on the whole player, and we really put the player first and helping them along with their journey so that they're making the decisions more than us parents and coaches. And so we develop the whole individual, and we use soccer kind of as a vehicle to empower them. So we also run, besides just our soccer piece of it, we do community impact. We run leadership courses for all of the kids. So we've had courses where 7-year-olds are in the class and they're learning things maybe about bullying or self-identity and different things, self-image. And so we talk about everything. And so I love it because it has just created this amazing environment. My daughter plays in it, and I will say she has the best time. The parents are great. The coaches are great. The kids are great. And she is learning to love soccer. And that's the most important piece.
I absolutely love that. And this is actually, this is where my pregnancy brain kind of kicked in. This is what I was mentioning earlier in our discussion. I was like, oh, wait, I totally skipped topics here. But this is where I was talking about the importance of something like this, like young female athletes being in such a safe space and being able to be themselves, basically, which is a very difficult thing to do, especially for preteens and those who are going through puberty. And I was saying earlier that statistic that I learned about was 1 in 3 girls quit sports by the time they're teenagers. And so that was a very devastating number for me to look at. And so a program like this, I just hope and pray it spreads big time like a wildfire, because this is going to be so crucial for their mental health, especially moving forward in their lives, just figuring themselves out and being able to handle stressful situations, something that not all of us are taught. This is where our emotional maturity kind of comes into par. And I think that's going to be so important for these young women moving forward in their lives, whatever they want to do. So bravo for coming up with a program like that, because that's a very special one that you just, you don't really hear about very often. I don't think I've ever heard anything like this in general. So I think it's amazing that these girls have such great mentors like yourself, and especially your daughter being with you, and obviously being out there having the same mentors. But I think that's amazing for her, and obviously loving the game too. That's a really hard thing to do as a kid, not feeling as pressured. You can be yourself and like still have fun, love the game, you're making friends. And so I think that's just a really, really beautiful thing. And so, hey, Rod, you used to rack up hundreds, thousands of dollars by scoring goals and playing for your community. Tell us more about what that program was like and what it meant to you to know that every goal you scored, gave back in some kind of way.
I don't know if I brought in hundreds of thousands.
I love to be dramatic. I love to be dramatic.
I scored some, but no, I think like you guys, you two are pioneers in wanting to pay it forward. And I think if all of us pro athletes can look back on what we did in our careers, yes, it's great what you did within the lines and on the grass and in the scoring the goals and whatever it might be. But there's so much more of the game in the communities and with people. And so a big part of who I was when I was a player was how can I give back to the community? How can I pay forward? My family's really tied in with several children's hospitals. My husband is a pediatric physical therapist. I've done a lot of work with teams where I go and do hospital visits with the children. Part of what I wanted to do as a player was give back to the local hospital of the city I was playing in. And so I'd connect with them, and for every goal scored by my team or by myself, be small donations given back to the hospitals. And that always felt good from my standpoint to do a little bit more than what was just, with the ball.
Absolutely love that.
Amy, was that just you doing that? So did you lead the charge on that? That's pretty
I just did it from a personal standpoint. I didn't require anything else from my teams or my clubs or anything like that.
Yeah.
That was just something personal that was near my heart. So
awesome.
Good for you. Good for both of you. I absolutely love that. We'll go ahead and jump into the very last question. I couldn't wait for this one because I'm super stoked. Okay, World Cup. What are you most excited about for the World Cup? What are you looking forward to?
Go on, Amy.
All right. Well, I'm not the broadcaster here, but just the World Cup only comes every 4 years. And so to see another one already, it does feel like it was not that long ago that the girls were hoisting the trophy and winning the last one. But to think that our USA team could win 4 in a row, that's pretty big time. I'd love to see that from them. And it's also, in a country that is being split into 2 different locations, right? New Zealand and Australia, to see. Yeah. Jess, you've played there. You know that area well, and to see kind of the culture spread out over there will be really exciting to watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then I would say I'm going over for fun. I'm not working, and I'm bringing Zoe. So I'm taking Zoe back to New Zealand. We're going to go for just the group games. So I am really excited just for her to. She was 1.5 years the last time. I don't think she remembers any of it except for pictures. But this time, just for her, again, just to be around such empowering women and seeing what they can do on the field. There's no better mentor. There's no better way to just let her see it. And I think someone put in the chat, you got to see it to believe it. That is so true. And so I want her to see these amazing women in the environment of the World Cup and see how many people are at the games and that everybody's talking about the Women's World Cup. And so I'm excited just to go and be there in person and cheer on the team. And you know what? I think, they are going to win this next one again. I mean, that's amazing that they could do this many times in a row. So I'm very excited.
Absolutely. I'm super stoked to see the competition be so much better, World Cup by World Cup. And so I think this is going to be one of the most historical women's World Cups in history so far. I think this is going to be probably the best one. I'm excited to see the entire tournament as a whole. So Excited for Team USA, obviously, and all the new faces that they have out there. I have a lot of friends on the team, obviously, and I'm sure some of you guys do too. So I'm just excited to see our friends go out and, go kill it at the world stage, and other friends on other international teams too. I have to keep it a little low key cheering for them, but you guys know where I'm at
in the US, it's okay.
Exactly. So it's going to be incredible, and I can't wait to see Australia and New Zealand put on a show for the entire world to see this World Cup, because the stadiums down there are absolutely incredible, and I can't wait for these players to play on them and being able to experience that. And it's going to be a very beautiful tournament to watch. It's going to be historical, so I am most certainly looking forward to it. So we cannot wait to watch you, Amy, in Utah, Shannon, and help you spread the word about your incredible ethos, mentality, endeavor to support professional athletes thrive. So thank you so, so much, you two. It was so incredible being able to discuss all these topics with the two of you, because I think they're all very, very important, and kind of having people see our lives, inside and out, not just as, female soccer players. So thank you so much again for coming on my show, my very first episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves.
Thank you so much for having us. Amy, good to see you as well. And just best of luck to both of you guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. The two of you take care.
You're amazing, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. What's next for Jess McDonald? So I'm sure some of you guys saw my announcement recently about being in the media for Optus Sport. So Optus Sport is kind of like the ESPN in Australia. I networked myself this past off season when I went and played for Western United down in the A League in Australia this off season, and light bulb kind of hit me with the idea of wanting to do media. And we were all talking about the importance of being able to transition as a pro athlete into your next thing. And so this is a transition that I need to be smooth for myself. I have a kid, and I also have one on the way as well, if you guys didn't see that announcement also. So I am just super stoked to be looking forward to being able to have a different perspective at the World Cup. So being able to play in 2019, lifting the trophy with the U.S. Women's National Soccer Team, and now being able to be behind the scenes doing media. And I get to share both of them with my son, Jeremiah. He's 11, and I was super stoked to be able to lift the trophy with him in 2019. And now he's going to be in the background with me as I'm doing television with Optus Sport, who is going to be tuning into all the games down under in Australia. They're playing all 64 games. And so if you're down under, go ahead and tune in to Optus Sports. So you can see my pretty face out there. So that's what's next for me. And also just looking forward to, being a mom of two as well. So you guys will probably see my belly on the TV, but just super stoked to be able to share these experiences with my son, because traveling the world and doing all of these things, I think, is one of the best life experiences that he could possibly have. I know this is a life that he's very much so used to, but I think it's going to be important for him in the future to be inspired by all of this. Like, oh, hey, I remember France. Hey, I remember Australia with my mom. So hopefully that these things and what he's been surrounded by throughout his life is going to inspire him. So that's what's going to be next for me, is becoming a mom of two and also doing coverage for the entire World Cup with Optus Sport down under in Australia. So thank you so, so much, everybody who tuned in today. I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion with myself, Susie, Boxy, and A-Rod. I'm very appreciative of all three of them for coming on to my very first episode of What's Next. So we will keep you guys all tuned in for what's going to be next in my next episode, and cannot wait to share with you guys who my next guests will be. Thanks so much, you guys. You guys take care.